What if I told you that the first $1,000 you place in 2026 matters more psychologically than the first 100,000 ever will? Because the first 1,000 is not just money, it is identity, it is proof, it is that first brick in the house of financial freedom. And yet most beginners treat $1,000 like it's either too small to matter or too precious to touch. So they do one of three things. They spend it, they gamble it, or they let it sit in an account earning the financial equivalent of a polite yawn. Meanwhile, the grown-up money game keeps moving. As of March 18, 2026, the Federal Reserve kept its target rate at 3.5% to 3.75%, and the latest PCE inflation reading showed prices still running 2.8% year-over-year in January 2026. Translation: cash can earn something again, but inflation is still nibbling at your wallet like a determined goat. So the question is not, where can I get rich with $1,000 by next Thursday? The real question is, where should a complete beginner put $1,000 in 2026 to build actual financial strength? Tonight, we answer that, not with hype, not with magical internet dust, but with a roadmap, a real one. Why $1,000 matters. $1,000 is small enough to feel harmless. That's why people abuse it. They say, it's only $1,000, and then they throw it into meme coins, hot tips from a cousin named Kelvin, or a trading strategy built entirely on vibes and insomnia. But $1,000 is also large enough to change your trajectory. It can become your first emergency buffer, your first investment account, your first Roth IRA contribution, your first Treasury position, your first lesson in disciplined wealth. The SEC reminds investors that compounding is powerful because you earn returns not just on your money, but on the returns that money already generated. And the SEC also warns that diversification helps reduce overall portfolio risk. That means your first $1,000 is not supposed to perform circus tricks. It is supposed to join a system. Because wealth is rarely built by one heroic investment. It is usually built by repeated, sane decisions that are boring enough to be mocked until they work. The big beginner mistake. The biggest beginner mistake is asking, where do I put all of it? Wrong question. The right question is, what job should each dollar do first? Because money has jobs. Some dollars are bodyguards, some are builders, some are soldiers, some are seeds. If you send your emergency dollars into the stock market, you have fired your bodyguards and hired acrobats. If you leave every dollar in cash forever, you have seeds in a vault, never planted. If you throw all of it into speculation, congratulations, you have turned your roadmap into a slot machine. So here is the roadmap. Not one bucket, 5 buckets. The 5-bucket roadmap. Bucket 1. Emergency cash first. Before investing aggressively, you need breathing room. FINRA says financial planners often recommend 3 to 6 months of living expenses in an emergency fund. Now listen carefully. I am not saying your first $1,000 must complete that mission. I am saying it may need to start that mission. If you have no emergency fund, then the best place for at least part of your $1,000 is a safe, liquid account. Why? Because emergencies do not care that you just discovered ETFs. Your alternator does not care about your long-term thesis. Your landlord does not accept, but the market is down, as a payment plan. For money that must stay stable and accessible, bank deposits at FDIC-insured banks are insured up to $250,000 per depositor, per insured bank, per ownership category. So if you have zero cushion, this is not cowardice. This is foundation. Translation: if life is fragile, your first dollars should buy stability. Bucket 2. Kill toxic high-interest debt. Now, I know this is not sexy. Nobody makes a dramatic montage about paying off a credit card. No cinematic soundtrack, no Lamborghini, no influencer pointing at red arrows. But mathematically, high-interest debt is often the investment that beats your investments. If you're carrying ugly revolving debt, throwing part of your $1,000 at it can produce a guaranteed improvement in your net worth. That is not glamorous.
That is dominant, because earning 8% in the market while paying 25% somewhere else is like jogging on a treadmill while someone steals your shoes. So, before dreaming of moonshots, check whether your financial boat is taking on water. Bucket 3. Capture free money at work. If your employer offers a retirement match, that often comes before fancy investing. Why? Because a match is one of the things in finance closest to free money. For 2026, the IRS says the basic employee elective deferral limit for workplace retirement plans like a 401k is $24,500, subject to compensation limits and plan rules. But the headline is simpler. If your employer matches contributions and you're not getting that match, you're basically leaving part of your compensation on the table, like a tip for a waiter who never came. So if you have earned income and access to a match, part of your $1,000 may belong there first. Bucket 4. Roth IRA plus broad index fund. Now we reach the part people usually wanted from the start. Yes, if your basics are not on fire, one of the strongest beginner moves in 2026 is still Roth IRA plus low-cost broad market index fund. Why this combo? Because the IRA is the container and the index fund is the tool. For 2026, the IRS says IRA contribution limits are $7,500 or $8,600 if age 50 or older, subject to income and compensation rules. The SEC notes that index funds still carry market risk, but diversification through funds or ETFs can help reduce risk relative to concentrating in a few names. And Investor.gov also warns that small fee differences can lead to big differences in returns over time. That means for a beginner, you don't need to become a hedge fund philosopher by Friday. You need to understand 3 words: broad, diversified, low cost. Not flashy, not exotic, not AI, quantum, metaverse, uranium, dividend, dog token. Broad, diversified, low cost. Sometimes wisdom is not hidden, it's just boring. Bucket 5. Safe yield for short-term goals. Now, let's say you're not ready to invest it all into stocks. That's fine. Maybe this money is for a goal in the next 1 to 3 years. Maybe you're learning. Maybe you want principal protection. Then Treasury-backed options belong in the conversation. Treasury Direct shows that Series I bonds bought from November 1, 2025 through April 30, 2026 carry a 4.03% composite rate, including a 1.09% fixed rate for the life of the bond and an inflation component for the current period. That doesn't mean I bonds are always the best answer. It means they're one legitimate answer for beginners who want something safer than stocks and more inflation-aware than dead cash. Different tools for different jobs. Hammer for nails, screwdriver for screws, index fund for long-term growth, cash and treasuries for stability and near-term needs. Don't use a chainsaw to butter toast. So where should a beginner actually put $1,000 in 2026? Here's the simplest answer I can give. Option A, you have no emergency fund. Put $700 to $1,000 into emergency savings first. If you want to learn investing, invest a very small amount while you build the cushion, because survival comes before strategy. Option B, you have a small cushion but no investing started. Put some towards emergency cash, put some towards a Roth IRA or workplace retirement plan. Buy a broad, low-cost index fund inside it. Option C, you already have emergency savings and no toxic debt. A very clean beginner roadmap might look like this. $200, keep in cash for resilience. $600, invest in a broad, low-cost index fund through a Roth IRA or brokerage. $200 use for learning, optional satellite investing, or treasury savings. This is not sacred scripture. This is structure. The point is not the exact numbers. The point is that every dollar has a mission, because beginners get in trouble when they try to make every dollar do the same thing. So what not to do in 2026? Let me save you from 5 beginner disasters. Disaster number 1. Putting all $1,000 into one stock because it feels strong. Feelings are wonderful in worship. They are unreliable in portfolio construction. Disaster number 2, ignoring fees. Investor.gov warns that even small differences in fees can compound into large differences in long-term results. Fees are like termites, quiet, patient, expensive. Disaster number 3, calling speculation investing. Buying one hot thing because strangers on the internet posted rocket emojis is not a financial plan. That's digital peer pressure with charts. Disaster number 4, investing money you may need next month. Market money and rent money should not be roommates. Disaster number 5, waiting for the perfect time. The beginner obsession with perfect timing is often just fear wearing a clever hat. The deeper truth. Now let's go deeper. The real battle is not stocks versus savings.
The real battle is discipline versus drift. Because money flows toward intention, but it disappears through neglect. And in the kingdom, stewardship always comes before multiplication. The person who cannot govern $1,000 safely will not suddenly become wise at 100,000. More money does not automatically reveal virtue. Sometimes it just amplifies confusion with nicer packaging. So when you place that first $1,000, you are not merely choosing an asset. You are choosing a pattern. A pattern of panic or patience. A pattern of gambling or governing. A pattern of noise or wisdom. That is why this matters. Not because $1,000 is huge, but because habits scale. So where should you put $1,000 in 2026? Here is the roadmap. Stabilize first with emergency cash if you do not have it. Eliminate toxic debt before chasing heroic returns. Capture employer match if available. Use a Roth IRA or brokerage for broad, low-cost index investing if your base is stable. Use Treasuries or similar safe yield tools for short-term goals or conservative money. That is the beginner roadmap. Not thrilling enough for TikTok, but powerful enough to change your life. Because the first 1,000 is not supposed to make you look rich. It is supposed to make you become dangerous with discipline. And once discipline shows up, money starts behaving differently around you. If this helped you, comment roadmap below. And if you want the next video, I'll do how to build your first $10,000 portfolio step by step. Because the first 1,000 is where you stop guessing and start building.